Ladies and gentlemen, this is Antonio from Wattics. Sorry for the couple of minutes delay here. I had some little problem in connecting the GoToMeeting this morning, but I hope you can hear me fine. Let me see. Let me ask a few questions. If you can hear me fine, great. Today we're gonna spend a few minutes, say kind of up to half an hour, for the demonstration of our new formula composer, which we are very excited, and I think it will give a great wealth of insight and a great wealth of possibilities for your energy efficiency project. Um, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share a few slides with you now, and then we go through the slides. We then go to see it in action on the dashboard, and then we'll perhaps exchange a few questions. So this is the second seminar that we do. I did also one yesterday and was quite successful. So I hope to get loads of questions also in this webinar as I did yesterday. Okay. Let me just share my slides. You should all be able to see my slides. Let's go through it. Okay. First of all, the agenda and what the Wattics composer is. So there's also another couple of changes that I've done on the platform. The first change is the location of the notification and the alerts tool that before was at the end of the platform, and now has been brought at the beginning because several partners have requested that it was more visible. The upgrade of the data point registration tool. Many of you are registering their data points independently from Wattics and adding to your platform and sharing with your customer. We have upgraded the data points registration tool in the admin section to make it more intuitive and simpler to use. And then the formula composer, which we have now launched it, and you probably have seen it already on your dashboard, and it's in a beta version, which means that we are still accepting or the kind of we always accept feedback and everything, but in this period as a beta version, it's free to use it for at least another month, and you can please get back to us with as many comments as you want. I mean, create as many points as you want. The points that you create through the formula composer will not be charged for the next month. So for now, everything is free and in a test mode for you to try it out and see the potential of this new tool. Okay. So how it works, use cases, and the terms for the formula composer. The terms meaning that how we will charge in the future. This I won't probably discuss it today. I will because for us it's important that our partners find our tools useful before we actually get into terms. So for the moment, just use it and make sure that is appropriate for your needs and for your requirements. If not, let us know. Okay. So there is a large number of use cases that I can think of for the formula composer. The formula composer allows effectively to create formula across meters, across data points, across weather station, temperature sensors. Formulas meaning you can add meters, you can subtract meters, you can multiply data points, you can do conditional analysis such as if then else, you can do greater or smaller. So there are a number of operators that have been enabled, and as we go along, we will enable other operators such as maximum, minimum, or end, or in order to have nested if then else. But in here, I've written a few of them. Baseline to track saving, this is kind of a typical use case. You want to create a baseline. You have a meter. You have some dependencies between meters and variables. You want to create a baseline to track your savings in real time. Then you create the baseline with the formula composer, and then you create another point, which is your baseline minus your real energy, and the difference between the two. You may call it savings. Condition-based formulas to identify issues across energy and non-energy data. If the compressor number one is on, for example, then the compressor number two should be off. So you do an if compressor number one is on, for example, then notify me if the compressor number two is off. Or if compressor number two has a consumption that is greater than a threshold, it means is that some leakage are appearing on the compressor, and the consumption started increasing more than a certain threshold. So you can put an if condition to be notified, and even to calculate what is the wastage that you're occurring if the compressor is above a certain threshold. Then energy performance metrics, of course, you multiply by a constant, you divide by the square meters of your building, you can sum multiple building, and so on, create all the benchmarking that you want. Smart KPI, conditional based virtual meter I've discussed, smart KPIs, yeah. This I leave it to your interpretation. New type of points derived from multiplication with a constant. For example, GHG, RHI emissions, CO2. And I want to multiply my kilowatt hour by a constant, because that is the CO2, and you know that the carbon emissions are now another item in an electricity bill. So it is important to monitor also how many tons of CO2 a plant or a business is generating, in order to report it to the authorities, to access some funding, some money back, or actually to pay or be notified if the CO2 emission is over the threshold, because then there may be extra charges on the bill. So this is just some of the use cases. Okay, so this is, for example, I put the UK CRC calculation, the carbon reduction commitment. This is something that is happening in the UK. The kilowatt hour have to be multiplied by a constant according to this table, whether the electricity is on-site generated or is from the grid, or if it's natural gas. And this CRC, they allow to get refunds if energy efficiency measures are implemented correctly. And you can just create another formula meter by multiplying your total energy consumption of your building by one of these constant, and now you have your UK carbon reduction calculation. Another one is the RHI, the non-domestic renewable heat incentive, according to the regulation, which has been regulated by a body called Ofgem in the UK. And I'm just talking about the UK because it's just very close to Ireland, but similar to all of these incentives and all of this calculation are in each country. The constant might change, the formula might variate a little bit, but the formula composer will allow you to anyway address these needs in every country you are. Okay, and what is the overall target and objective of the formula composer? It's really we we kind of, this is like a little bit people working on Excel spreadsheet. We not that because they are not useful. I mean, we all love Excel, and we have been using Excel for so many years. But when you're doing energy management and project, and you have a large amount of customers and increasing on a daily basis, you actually want something that is a little bit more reactive, a little bit more that is in real time, that you can put notification against, that you can create automated report, and Excel is great, but it's kind of static, is limited, is a little bit from, it's a Windows results from many years ago, and now it's time, if possible, to bring it to life, and just have formulas and everything created onto the Wattics platform, because in that way you can engage more your user and you can do everything else. Okay, so here is the dashboard. Now, first thing that I wanted to talk is, so you can see now that there is a new formula composer appearing here. And so I will delve into this formula composer in a few seconds. But before doing that, let me just have a look at these notification settings. Most of you know already the notification settings, but because previously it was hidden here at the end, some of you may have missed it. So I'm just bring it to the second after the home. Um, with the notification settings, you can actually create your custom alerts beside your Sentinel machine learning alerts that are based on our Sentinel trends, and the offline notification when the meters are offline, and the PoE for data centers. You can actually create custom alerts. Previously, those custom alerts were only on the kilowatt hour, but we no, based on your request and your needs, we have extended these alerts to any parameters that you are collecting. So if you go to the usual food corporation plant, now if you have a CO2 compressor because you have created a formula meter called CO2 compressor, you can now create accumulated so far against the threshold. So you can have an alert called CO2 alert, and maybe a weekly CO2 alert if it's over a threshold, and we call it greater than 200, for example, and that's the name of the alert. And what I'll do here then, I'll put an alert against kilowatt hour, or in this case, it's kilowatt hour because the CO2 has been registered as a kilowatt hour. But if you register this as a numeric value with the CO2 tones, for example, then here the parameters will be different. Or even I can even have an alert against cost, and I can have an alert sent per week if the CO2 cost exceed 100 pounds, and you can send it. You can send it by email and by SMS, or I mean, this is the CO2, but you can have even a budget. So you can have budget. Budget weekly for a particular machine. So, or for if you go here, and you can have a budget for the affluent area, or for the gas main, and you can put a weekly or daily or monthly budget. So this is called, so we call this accumulated so far against the threshold. Or if you want to monitor that certain parameters has not exceeded a threshold, for example, KVR or KW or KVA, for your maximum imported capacity, or because you want to be alerted if there is a spike in some of your machines, then you can create a value against the threshold, and you can pick up the day or any time of the day, or between 2 hours, or some days of the week. Okay, this is from the alert side. So the other part is in the admin. You know that you can create, and at any point we can delete the points for you. So now if you have a hotel and you want to create a new meter, you can add a new meter here, and here you can add these data points. We call it data points because meter feels more like an energy meter, but you can actually add gas, numeric, virtual meter, or water meter, and that's why it's we call it data points. It's a more generic name than meter. So you select the option. You have the AccuRev, AccuVim, generic. These are templates. So templates are made by us. We know, for example, that when we connect Wattics to a particular energy meters, we have to read that meters in a particular way. So rather than giving a long menu that you have to pick and choose the different connections, we have created these templates. This list will grow a lot because we have many other templates that we haven't yet added. But you select your templates, and then you go through the process. These are already pre-configured, predefined, so you don't have to change them, because you can if you want to, but we know that this configuration works with the AccuRev. You put your meter ID, which is usually the for the AccuRev is the MAC address of the AccuRev, and the name as you want that to appear on the tree menu, and that's it. You can actually here for the AccuRev tree, this is a 3-channel meter. You can actually decide whether to monitor monophase or three-phase in the different CTs and so on. And you can give a name to each of those, and you can save. You can put in here the channel parameter type. You can decide whether to get all of your parameters from the meters, so active power, reactive, and everything, or just the kilowatt hour, and then you save it. Okay. Okay, that's great. So let's now go into the core of this meeting, which is the formula composer. Okay. So for the formula composer, I was thinking to kind of just go through a story of how this could be used. Okay, so bear with me. Let's start from this hotel, for example. Okay, and let's assume that this hotel has let's assume it has a kitchen. It's here. Okay. And we want to do something with the kitchen. Okay, we want to understand first when the kitchen is consuming electricity, and we want to try to optimize the kitchen. Okay, if we move first to the breakdown tab and we look at the beta result, and we use our pie chart to see where the cost is going, we see that the kitchen is a major consumer here. So, and because it's a major consumer, we want to optimize that. So if we go to the activity map, and we look at the kitchen, we see that there is some consumption overnight. Okay, there is a heavy consumption at 8 a.m. and there is some consumption that is also heavy in the evening. So there is breakfast and evening for this kitchen. But nevertheless, in the middle of the day, this kitchen has a significant consumption, probably due to the fact that the extractor, which is what it extracts the fumes of the kitchen, stays on the whole day. And this has happened quite often in kitchen, because chefs, even if the kitchen is not in use, the extractor is still working, and the extractor is a major consumer for the kitchen. As you can see here, the extractor, when the extractor gets shut down, only the fridges are in operation. So we agree. Let's say that we agree with the hotel manager that we can put a control system to turn off the extractor automatically after 2 p.m. when the kitchen is closed, and we want to see how much savings we can provide in real time, and we want to use the formula composer to track these savings in real time. Okay. What I'll do, I would perhaps first go to the MMV and create a project called air extract control in the kitchen, and I will go through the points of setting my energy conservation measure, including the baseline, which is the kitchen, which is this one, including the baseline and the reporting period. So I know, for example, that my control system in the kitchen has been installed in date 27/03/2008 until the 1st of April 2018, sorry. So in this period, so I want to monitor the energy before my installation, and I want to monitor the energy after my installation, and I want Wattics to calculate me kind of a model, so that when the model, so the model will mirror the energy consumption before the installation, and then the model will carry on, and I can compare that model against the new energy, because most likely will be lower after I've installed my control system. Okay, so you know that through the MMV you can actually create a model based on other parameters. So I've introduced this kitchen cover as parameters, and I now want to see whether the covers in the kitchen are somehow related to the consumption that I have in the kitchen. So I imported the covers, which are the number of customers effectively that have been eating in my restaurants, and therefore using the kitchen, because and if I look at my correlation between the energy in the kitchen and the actual number of covers, so the number of people that have been eating in the restaurant, I can see that there is actually an interesting correlation. I can see that my consumption in the kitchen increases when the cover increases. Okay, and that makes sense, right? Because if I have more customers eating in my kitchen, in my restaurants, I'm spending more energy for this customer, for cooking, for everything, for the extractor, and so on. And this is an interesting equation. So this is the regression analysis and the equation that govern this relationship between the two variables. Okay, so what I want to do now with the formula composer is to actually take this formula and create a point so that I can track in real time what's going on. Okay, so in here I have the formula with the model. Okay, and in here I can track the savings, so I can see here that the model and the model and the real measurements are quite close. So it's actually a good formula to use. So I take that formula. I take this formula here, 2.39 by kitchen cover by 10.35, and I want to put it into the formula composer. So go back to the formula composer. Very simply, I have here my beta result. I have the covers, so I can make that formula. So I can start typing at. So the formula composer starts always with at. And when you start with that, you can start writing the name of your meter, and the system automatically filters out. So I just start covers, and covers appears here at the top. Okay. And now here are the covers. Okay, now with these covers we said that we wanted to multiply these covers by 2.39. okay, as was in that formula, and we want to add a constant, which I think it was to 10.35, and this is my new point, the model based on the covers that are supposed to mirror the kitchen consumption. Okay, I will then go here and create a point, and I can call this point kilowatt hour, or kitchen kilowatt hour model kitchen. Okay, and here I can add this to my what is it, best resort, beta hotel. Okay, and in terms of unit, in this case it's I keep a kilowatt hour because it's still energy, and I can even start the calculation in the past. So for example, as I can start this calculation right after my project has been completed. So right after I actually changed I actually replaced and installed the control system in the kitchen. Okay, so in here, if I submit, the meters will be added here, and I've added this meter yesterday actually. So I have called it actually kitchen upgraded. Okay, actually no, kitchen yeah, kitchen kilowatt hour model. That's the name that I gave. Okay, so if I close here, now I have my kitchen. So if I open this, I have my kitchen. Sorry, and this is the consumption of the kitchen in kilowatt hour, and I have my kitchen kilowatt hour model, which is not too far because it's the model that the system has created based on the covers. Okay, and I have another which is called kitchen upgraded, which I made it right for this demo, which is the kitchen after the actual energy in the kitchen after I've installed the system. So we are gonna use this kitchen upgraded rather than the kitchen, okay? Because this one is the meters that is monitoring now the kitchen that has been upgraded with the control system. So actually it's this Now, and in fact, you can see that the kitchen upgraded and the model are differing now. So basically, the model that before was very close to the meter, which was the kitchen. Now that I've upgraded the model is showing values that are much higher than the new kitchen consumption. This is great because it means that the difference between the energy that I've now in the kitchen upgraded and the model in red, and in green is the kitchen upgraded. The difference between the two is actually my savings. So what I'll do then from in the composite meter, I will go again to the composite meter and I will do a minus formula. So I will do kitchen upgraded here minus sorry, what was the name? Kitchen kilowatt hour model at kitchen kilowatt hour model here, and the difference between the two is savings. So I'll take this out, and in here the savings are negative in September, because it's actually the opposite. Very good. It's not. It's actually. It's not. It's the model minus the kitchen. My mistake. So it would be the kitchen kilowatt hour model minus, which is the model minus the actual the upgraded. So the kitchen upgraded. That makes sense. And this is now the savings that it will show. Basically, what I'm doing, I'm comparing my model, which is the values of the kitchen before the upgrade, with the new energy after the kitchen has been upgraded, and this is the model. So I can create a point again in here. I can call it savings in the hotel, and then this will become an effective another point that will be added to my list. And in fact, I think I've added this before. I call it kilowatt hour savings kitchen. So we can take a look at this kilowatt hour saving kitchen in here. So if I click on this one, it's effectively a model where it shows me the savings every day, and I can go back on time, or I can click on the from and to. So if I click on say September the 1st to, or maybe just go back a little bit and see what happens from October. Okay, so there's still savings. If I go back in the 2017 in here, yeah, here you can see that actually this one was when before my installation of the control system in the kitchen. There was of course no savings because the savings, the kilowatt hour savings were one minus the other. The kitchen kilowatt hour models minus the upgraded, so they were very close. And after my control system was installed, I can see now savings. And these are the kilowatt hour savings in the kitchen that have been tracked in kilowatt hour, and these, if you save them in cost, you can also view the cost, but in this case they've been saved as a numeric values. But if these are saved as electrical points, you can also apply a tariff against it. Okay, and you can still view it in a day. That probably you see here. Here is before, and and then it's after. So it's quite interesting to see kind of the difference in here. Of course, there was no saving here, but after my installation, there've been quite a good amount of savings. And then you can track these savings. You can put notification against them. So if for certain reason the saving goes below 40, for example, you can now create a notification, because it means the control system has been turned off, and then the whole installation is not actually producing the savings that you were expecting. Okay, so that's I hope that this particular use case scenario has been quite useful. As I said, there are many of them. Just to close the usage of this composite meter, when you are here in the formula composer. Sorry. when you are here in the formula composer, you can click at, as I said, to pick up any meter. You just write alpha hotel and then you click, you enter, and then you can put an operator. Actually, to see all the operators that are now available, you might do it by clicking the question mark. So it's also written in here. So at for selecting points and question mark for selecting operator. So if I click question marks, it gives me, it will give you a list of the operators that are now available, and this list again will grow quite a lot. There is also the if condition, so I can actually use an if condition, and in here I can put my formula. So I can put, for example, if the compressor, the air compressor here is greater than 200, because I know that if the consumption is greater than 200, then that consumption above 200 is wastage, because it's leakage. I can if the compressor is greater than 200, then write me air compressor minus 200, and I believe these are my wastage. Otherwise, write me 0. And here I have 2 points, so I can take this out. And here I have, for example, in this case, the wastage. So I can create this point and call it wastage air compressor. I can see here the wastage of my compressor, because this point is basically signaling that the air compressor minus 200 only when the air compressor is above 200. So it's basically showing me the leakage of the compressor, or the kilowatt hour that I've been wasting because the compressor is above that threshold. So that's another use case that can be seen. I will what we will do, we will also over the next weeks and months create perhaps a post on our website, almost a blog, with the different use cases that we can think of, also by talking to you guys, and how to use practically this formula composer in many of the use cases that you may have, or that we may think of, and so that you have always a reference on how to create, for example, how to manage leakages in a compressor, how to create a formula against that, or formulas for some CO2 incentive schemes, and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's it for now. Just a quick things. I mean, we will keep on. This is not a finished product at all. We will improve this. We will add an x-axis in the future, so you can actually put your points only on the also on the x-axis, and that will create your regression y and x-axis. So you don't have to do to the MMV tool anymore to create your regression analysis, but also on the x-axis, which at the moment. If you create a point on the x-axis in here, the time is fixed. We want to kind of get it also not fixed, but that you can add any other parameters in the x-axis as well, or perhaps you want only to pick up certain times in the x-axis. So there will be several other interesting development to even make this more powerful. But I think today, you have got a general idea of how to use the composite meter, and you can still use the monitor points on the left hand side, by the way, yeah, and all of these control panels works exactly as the breakdown tab. We try to mirror and keep the same style, the same Wattics style, which we believe is minimalist, is nice to use. It's simple, but we hide loads of complexity behind the scenes and try to present something that is simple and nice to use and very interactive. Okay, and that's it. I close this the demo, and I will open to questions. So let me see. You have your in there in the go-to meeting. You should be able to have your chat tool. So if you use that chat tool for your question, if you have any, just post it there, and I will read the questions, and I will try to get an answer. Uh, um, there's one question that says if I can put notifications on the composite meters in the example of the kitchen upgrade. Yes, of course. As I said before, everything that becomes a point when you find something interesting in the composite in the formula composer, and you create a point, you can put notifications against that. And also would be, you can also add in your reports in the automated reports tool that you have in the dashboard. I have another question from Alessio. Just open this. Are you planning to include sin and cosine operators? Perhaps, Alessio, if you think that sin and cosine will be interesting to have for some of your use case, we can certainly add them. Perhaps send me an email with your use case for sin and cosine, and I can put that in to our developers. It's important that explain me the use case that you will have with the sin and cosine, and I can certainly include them in the roadmap as we include more operators. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I can the let me so there is a person that is asking if I can demonstrate how to set a notification. Not a problem. So let me just reopen my my screen. Let me share your screen again. So suppose that you have so you I hope you can again see my screen. So in here I've created coming back to the kitchen. I've created my my kitchen. What was it? It was the kitchen quality, kitchen kilowatt hour model, kitchen upgraded, heating. What was the point that I've created? Kilowatt hour saving kitchen. Here's the one. So this is the point that is now tracking my savings. So if I go to the notification setting, I can create a custom alert. I create a new alert. I will go to my hotel, which is inside here, and I will select my kilowatt hour savings, and now I can put a value against the threshold or accumulated values against the threshold. So if I want to be notified if my savings are lower than 40 kilowatt per day, I can just call this alert poor savings kitchen. Okay, and I can use the parameter kilowatt hour. If it's lower than 40 kilowatt for maybe 3 times, so three consecutive readings. So maybe if each readings, if I have a readings, one reading per hour, then I have to see when you want to be notified, for example. But it could be after one reading that is less than 40 kilowatt. And maybe I just want this to be, actually I want this the whole day, but only Monday to Friday, because I know that the weekend, actually Monday to Friday, because I know that the weekends is very busy. So there's no point in turning off the extractor fan because it's been used the whole day. So I actually I'm interested in savings during the weekdays and no weekends. And then you create this. Once you create the alert will be listed among the rest of the alert. It will take this point and it will create here poor saving kitchens. So now you get notified every time the kitchen has a savings that are below 40 kilowatt. I hope you like that. So let me go back to other questions. Do we need to pay extra for use these tool features? A question from Alok. Well, not for now. for now, you just use it, you create points, and you create everything. I mean, as there will be, we're discussing the terms, and yes, I mean, there will be a composer plan, most likely, that we will launch next month. And, every time, so when you use the tool, you can do all your analysis, and you can create your formulas and have the formula in a graph and see it as a preview. But at the moment, when you create that data point is effectively a new point altogether. So it occupies a space in the database, and and increase the processing. There's a small increase in the processing of our servers. So there will be some small charges associated to the to creating data points, but you can still use the whole preview and everything if you have the composer plan. That's our idea. Okay, but for the moment, just use it and see how things will evolve, and please interact with us if the tool is good for and is producing values for you. Okay. Um, okay, and I think I've exhausted the questions. Let me see. Yeah, no problem, Alex. Thank you. No problem. And but I hope you find it useful this morning. Stay with me for this 40 minutes, actually 45 almost. So we have exceeded our time, but please send us feedback, and let's shape this tool together now that is in beta version. Okay, take care, and guys, have a great day. Okay, bye bye.